more person that I am hopeful will come today, and one person that we
Oh,
will
this is Candace.
um, one person that we will likely be adding next week. So, all right. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for giving an hour on this busy day to us. Let me just kind of give you a rough idea of and I'm kind of speaking a little bit to the video too, Justin. So this can be watched later. But I muted you, Candace, so you can unmute.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so Aubrey has contacted me and asked me to basically lead a recruiting team. So the goal of the recruiting team is to identify the agents within our office who will commit to setting however many appointments is necessary per month so that you can have 10 held, 10 appointments with Aubrey and or Robin, most likely Aubrey. Okay. There is an incentive in place to do this. Clearly, profit share would be a big incentive. But as you know, we're going to be calling more experienced agents, and you know, a lot of these people have a bunch of relationships. So there's certainly no slam dunk when you're reaching out to people, but we're not going to call them and the first thing out of our mouth is, hey, if you were to name a sponsor, would that be somebody you know, or are you open to me sponsoring you? Oh, hey, by the way, my name is Justin, right? So we just got to understand that we'll get most, but we're not going to get them all. Okay. My job is basically to train, help you guys get comfortable in the conversations, help you understand how to use the tools and systems, and hold you accountable as you are adding this to your plan, right? Adding it to your daily calendar or weekly calendar, whatever. And it's the standards, so to speak, are actually really clear. The standards are hold 10 appointments. Aubrey needs to meet with 10 people per month. If that happens, minimum, if that happens, we're celebrating. If that does not happen, then we probably won't have you on the team for much longer. Okay, so the goal clearly is to bring cappers and non-cappers or half cappers to the Market Center. So that they can get engaged with things like productivity coaching and the agent mentors and, you know, coming into the office and all these kind of things so that they can build their businesses. We've got a lot of changes coming up soon with KW, and there's a lot of carrots that we can dangle in front of people. So I have created a spreadsheet. I'm going to send this to you or share it real fast, and then I will share it with each of you individually. And as you know from working with me in productivity coaching, it's not a beautiful design, but it works. So here's my my vision is that each of us will hold will keep an updated pipeline at your little tabs down below. Okay. And this will be a public document, and each person is going to name the person, the brokerage that they're at, their cell phone number, was the appointment set, was the appointment held, what event or class did you invite them to, did they join, did you get named the sponsor, and was the bonus paid? Okay, so it is my understanding, please don't hold me to this number, but it is my understanding that assuming you meet the standard, you would get paid $1,000 at the first transaction of a capper that was brought to the office by you. Doesn't have to do with sponsorship, but if you were the procuring cause for the appointment, $1,000 for a capper when they have their first closing, and $500 for half capper when they have their first closing. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So then we would track things like the percentage of appointments set versus held, the percentage you are to the standard, right? The percentage of people that joined versus held, right? And the percentage of sponsor versus joined, right? So we would have a kind of a graph that would put all that data together. And then at any time, I can basically see, is anyone struggling with a specific part of this process, right? Are you, for example, Justin, having an issue with the relationship between set appointments and held appointments? If so, then we need to address some scripts to help you create some more value on that initial call so that they don't miss the appointment, right? Or maybe there's some type of, confirming the appointment ahead of time with some other piece of value, whatever it may be, right? And then we can look to see how many of those appointments that were held were people that joined. We're not judged on those that join. We're judged on putting them in front of the team leader. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And then we have basically a running report where we can track things from September, October, November, December. Okay. Now, this is a hot time of year. This is the time of year where people are essentially evaluating their business. They've got the board dues coming up. They are or most likely not on track for their goals. And whether they realize it or not, they're looking for help. And the first place they should expect to get the help is their brokerage. But unless they're a KW, that's probably not happening, right? So these people in large part are open to these conversations, okay? If you can create enough curiosity around it. So Candace, you have my red binder, right? With all the scripts and stuff? You're on mute.
I have it.
Okay, can you, you don't have to bring it to me this second, but can you bring it to me soon? I just want to kind of comb through that a little bit in addition to the stuff that Justin just gave me. And what I'd like to do is put together a little binder for you guys, each of you, so that you can see some of the most common initial ways to start the conversation, right? The first thing that you say when they pick up the phone. You can understand some coaching type questions, so you understand how to move them along in the conversation, ultimately so they can share whatever they might be struggling with. And then so that you can get comfortable with some of the most common objections. Things like, I love my broker, or KW is expensive, or I don't need any training, or whatever. The truth of the matter is, I don't think I'm offending anyone here, but if you're a half capper, you're freaking broke. Don't fool yourself. Okay, you're freaking broke. That's just the end of the discussion. Okay, you're probably making 25 gross, and then KW is going to take a third of that. Then you got to pay the tax man. You're not even making $1,000 a month. Don't kid yourself. You need help. Okay, so the idea is we got to go back to their motivation, and we'll go through. I'll let you listen to some calls and all that stuff, but go back to their motivation so you can figure out, why did they even get into the business in the first place? What do they consider to be acceptable, right? What were they aiming for? And inevitably, what you're going to see is that they just don't have either the knowledge or the systems or the technology to pull off their plan, right? Sometimes you have to ask them, hey, so tell me, do you know how many appointments you need to go on in order to hit that goal of 25 sales this year? And they're like, no. Say, wait, so do you have a business plan? No. So is your coach going through some of these things with you at your brokerage now? Oh, I don't have a coach. Oh my gosh, you don't have a coach? We need to meet. Make sense? So there's just, it's actually a lot more simple than you probably think it is. We want to get you access to broker metrics. Okay. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to pull this off, but I'm going to reach out to the tech people today and get you guys broker metrics access. Okay, the broker metrics. Hang on, metrics access. Okay, broker metrics is basically a system.
I have a spreadsheet from it if you want me to pull that up.
Yeah, hang on just one second. I want to share my broker metrics screen with you. What I have in mind is ultimately a weekly meeting where we are kind of dissecting everything, right? What are our wins? What are our losses? What brokerage is doing what, right? Who's struggling with what carrot seems to be the most impressive, all that kind of stuff. When I say carrot, what I really mean is, you know, here's a ticket to Mega Camp, or hey, here's a thing for career visioning or something of that nature, right? So one thing that you guys can have on your mind is any type of class or whatever it may be that you find as you are just going through your day that you think could be a piece of value for a prospect here, add it to the list, right? Particularly for cappers, the office will pay for, you know, career visioning, or would pay for, you know, Quantum Leap or one of these kind of things, so people can really, you know, kind of taste what it's like to be at KW. Okay, so let me show you this. Okay, so broker metrics is something where screen sharing has failed to start. Your window you select is invalid. What does that mean? Hang on, let me try that one more time. Otherwise, I'll just explain it to you.
I have
Go ahead.
I have a what Aaron printed out for me that I can share.
All right, let me give you permission to do that really fast.
I've revised it a little bit just so that I have the pertinent information. But let's see here. Can you see that?
So this is a result, Justin, of a broker metrics search. You can search by all kinds of stuff. You can search by volume, units, brokerage, individual people, etc. You can also look at statistics like, has the person's business increased over the last 12 months or decreased over the last 12 months, right? So you don't necessarily want to call somebody and says, hey, your business is off 300%, you need help, right? They may be off 300% because somebody had COVID or somebody passed away or whatever, right? There's a lot to learn. But it's just for you to know in the back of your mind, hey, this person used to make a lot more money than they're currently making. They may be open more to consultation. Make sense? So you can see their email, their telephone number, their number of transactions, their average sales price, their total volume, number of deals that they did by buyers and sellers individually, that kind of thing. So for example, I talked to somebody recently who was not on a team, but 100% of their transactions were buyers, right? And I said, you know, I'm looking at over some numbers right now, and it looks like all of your transactions are with home buyers. Is that correct? And they're like, yeah, I really need to learn how to do sellers. Oh, so tell me, what do you have in mind? Have you tried it before? You know, tell me a little bit about your database. What lead generation are you doing specifically to find sellers? And you're identifying all of these types of questions that make them realize that they have oftentimes never had a conversation like this before about their business. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So Justin, this is just an example of a list that you could work, and you could also drag that into, let's say, like a Google Sheet or something. So Candace, go down where you had some of those lines that were colored.
So those are my notes.
Yeah, exactly. So you could have some notes that say, oh, hey, I reached out to this person, or hey, this person said, don't ever call me back, or hey, this person, you know, said I needed to call in 2 weeks, or any of that kind of stuff. Right?
This one's on maternity leave. This one just had a baby girl call in September. This one's moving, check back 1st of September.
Yeah, so it's basically just a call list. I mean, we're all used to looking at a call list, right? So
Now, there's color coded lists, or how do I?
I just did that. When I called them, I'll just go up here and put a fill in. And my colors, that's my color for not interested, or number not in service. It's just a no, basically.
Well, if
Um,
I'm pulling the same data and I'm calling them all, also, that was my question, is just how are we splitting up calls?
I think that that should be determined at each weekly meeting, is to say, hey, you call half cappers at Coldwell Banker, you call full cappers at, HomeSmart or whatever, right? We can have a conversation around who we're calling and, what we're saying and all that stuff. Make sense?
And I'll tell you what, now, because EXP tries to recruit me all the time. And now that now that we are going to go public and have stock options, there'll be people, and our stock options will be way better. I think those will be good people to call as well.
Exactly.
I will say a
And
lot
the
of
truth
them.
it's just like, there's no, when you're calling FSBOs, for example, you can't like tell the real estate community that, hey, that one's mine, right? We may end up having some overlap, and that's probably okay, right?
And
But
most of
what
the
we-
people from EXP came from Keller Williams anyway, so they probably already do have sponsors, but that's okay.
Well, no, that if they were at KW for less than 3 years, then they don't have a sponsor,
Okay.
right? But again, the primary focus is get the appointment. The secondary focus is get them into the company. The third focus is attempt to get them to name you as a sponsor. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so once we set an appointment, for example, I would pull this name out of this list, for example, and put it on what I just showed you. So at any time, you basically have a pipeline of people who you were open to an appointment at one time in the past, right? Maybe they forget the time, or maybe they had to reschedule or something, but you know that they were open to an appointment. So you'd look to say, hey, is there anyone that I set that ultimately didn't hold, right? So you can use some follow-up, systems with that. Ideally, we're going to build up a pipeline that is so big that, it's like, hey, let's invite somebody to career visioning, and you got 25 people that you can invite. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Here is everyone has access to Aubrey's calendar. Is that right? Through the Calendly link? I'll get that for you.
I think I just got it yesterday.
Okay. So you have the ability to put sessions on the calendar with Aubrey. One thing that I have done in the past that's worked really well is, once an appointment is set and it's set with Aubrey, then I would do a 3-way text with Aubrey and with that person that says, hey, Aubrey, this is Joe Smith. He's a top performer at Metro Brokers. He's been in the business for 6 years and is looking to make his first hire. We spent most of our time talking about getting more sellers and using technology, right? Joe, this is Aubrey Bailey. He is the team leader of the Roswell Market Center. He's a phenomenal resource and coach. He leads our office of nearly 400 people, and he one of his favorite things is to talk to people about how to find off-market sellers. I scheduled an appointment for 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Aubrey, will you send Joe a link for Zoom? Something of that nature, right? So everyone's tight together, and it's searchable in text and all that kind of thing. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This is not overwhelmingly difficult stuff. Okay. So here's another conversation, which is, hang on. Okay. Just had something pop into my mind. Okay. The next thing that we want to talk about is, do we take the phone call and immediately give them to Aubrey, or is there something in between? So oftentimes what I've done mostly is book something in between, right? Meaning, would you be open to, some assistance in building your business plan for next year, right? We're seeing that a lot of top producers are creating their business plan, not January 10th, but September 10th, right? So they can make sure that the right people are on board, the right systems are in place, so we can start off the year Awesome. Right. Would you like to sit down? We can do like a 20 or 30-minute Zoom call so that I can give you some pointers on your business plan and we can create that together. Right. Something of that nature where you provide some value and I can teach you how to do things like that. You provide some value so it becomes more and more clear that you were influential, right? That you were valuable in that exchange. At the end of that meeting, you might say something like, oh my gosh, you're going to love Aubrey, right? The next step of this, he'd be a great person to help with. You know, I'm looking at his calendar right now. Are you available, you know, on Thursday at 2 o'clock? He's got an opening. Can I get you guys together? Right. Make sense?
Yep.
One of the things that I believe you can do at that session is essentially a needs analysis and a review of the economic model, right? So for example, are you aware of how many appointments you need each week or each month in order to hit your goal of 22 sales? No. Okay, we've got to sit down. I'm surprised no one at your brokerage has shown you that. Can we get together? Because, you know, as soon as I realized what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to get, I got there. And until then, I was struggling. Can I show you? Right? Would you be open to a 20-minute, no fee, no commitment, no obligation, no nothing? You just commit to meeting with me for 20 minutes. Can you do that? Right? Most people are going to say, yeah, sure. So at that meeting, you have a kind of a format, so to speak. You know what the presentation is. And oftentimes the presentation is, what are your goals? Why are those goals important to you? Where are you at? Meaning what's the gap, right? And you know, what do you believe is the most important thing that you can do to start closing that gap, right? And do you have the appropriate environment around you to make sure that you stay committed and on track, right? Because if we're going to make big changes in our business, that's not the only change that's going to happen, most likely, right? And after you listen to some calls, you'll learn some of the nuances and some of the language patterns and some of the questions that you ask and these kind of things, right? And then you can just do a really quick economic model with them. I can show you a super basic one that basically says income goal, you know, average price range, number of sales, number of dollars of GCI, and then number of appointments, right? So you want to make 100 grand, you need to go on 25 appointments this year. If you don't go on 25 appointments, you better convert at a much higher clip or you're not going to make 100,000. Does that make sense? And oftentimes, essentially broker or agents at every brokerage are pretty much shocked to see how simple it is. And it's amazing the fact that this didn't get taught to them. What kind of generalized questions do you guys have? And what do you have any reservations in any way?
No, I mean, just sitting down and just discussing what the typical flow of discussions are and objections. And maybe that you don't ever get into them. Maybe you just keep it super short, simple, sweet.
Okay. What's a good time for us to meet on a weekly basis? Let's start with that for kind of the huddle. And then I also like to do like some training as well. I've got a bunch of resources that I can send to you guys. Whenever I'm recruiting particularly new agents, I send them an email that has, you know, some links to some of the awards we've won and some really cool videos from on command and videos on like Keller Williams history and, you know, some of the technology and all these kind of things. And that kind of piques their interest. We want to be, that's a little tougher when you're really just selling help and not selling KW, right? So it might be things that you just watch now, so you just have some familiarity with them, and
Yep.
you can share that stuff if and when it's appropriate. A call generally, and I'll record some calls. I probably will make some calls today, and I'll do a Zoom where I'm recording those. But basically, the call is something. Let's say I'm going to invite them to. Let's say I'm going to invite them in for a business planning session, right? Hey, Justin, this is Bill Linkwald with Keller Williams. Hey, I'm the productivity coach over at the Roswell Keller Williams office. And I was looking at some of the numbers. I see you're the number 7 agent there at HomeSmart. Congratulations. Right? And they say, oh, I didn't know. But no one told you you're number 7? That's awesome. Right? And they're like, wait, should somebody have told me I'm number 7? Perhaps my broker, right? Nobody threw me a party. Nobody high-fived me. Nobody congratulated me. You see what I'm saying? So already you're starting to sprinkle in doubt, if you will, right? And you might say, hey, listen, I'm reaching out to some top producers today. I know it's probably time where you're sitting down and going through your business plan from this past year and kind of evaluating where you are in relationship to your goals and maybe coming up with some ideas and strategies for next year. And I wanted to see if you might be open to a 30-minute business consultation where I can share some ideas and strategies that our agents are using to, double and sometimes even triple their business, right? I have 2 o'clock on Thursday or 4 o'clock on Thursday available. But either of one of those work for you? Oh, well, I don't want to join Keller Williams. It's not about Keller Williams. It's about offering you some support. Tell me, what's the biggest struggle you're having in your business today? Right? Get them right back to talking about their problems, right? My biggest struggle is finding sellers. Okay, so what are you currently doing to find sellers? Well, I'm not really doing anything. Okay, how large is your database? I don't really have a database. You don't have a database? Okay, so what systems are you using to communicate with your clients systematically over time? Right? I don't really do that. Can I share a statistic with you? Our research team suggests that for every 16 people you have in your database that you systematically communicate with each year, you will earn 1 transaction. How many people would you say you probably have in your database if you were to go collect all those people? Probably 200. Okay, well, you have a database that should support somewhere around 15 transactions this year. How many have you had so far? 6. Would you like to learn how to maximize that communication so you can get closer to that goal of 15? I'm available at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock on Thursday. You see what I'm saying? So it's really just it's simple. I know you've made a lot of, cold calls too, Justin. The point is, let's figure out what their problem is and let's offer them a solution, right? And then you book the appointment and you say, hey, super excited to meet you. Can I send you a Google invite with a Zoom link? And by the way, what's the best email for you, right? And then I might, take it up a notch and send them a video text or something like that says, hey, it was so great to meet you. I appreciate you sharing that story about your family with me and how important hitting your goals are. That means a lot to me. And I actually spend the majority of my days helping my coaching clients hit their goals. So I'm really excited to meet with you at 4 o'clock on Thursday. Please let me know if anything changes, okay? And you send it off, right? So it's really I think oftentimes we try to make this more complicated than it is. It's simply acquiring the client, figuring out what their problem is, solving their problem, and then communicating with them over time.
Yep.
Makes sense? Sometimes they will say things like, well, I don't want to be recruited. Say, oh, so that's a good one. So I've responded a number of different ways. I've said, look, I'm not recruiting you. I'm here to help you, right? If Keller Williams is ultimately a fit for you, then it'll become very obvious. If Keller Williams is ultimately not a fit for you, it will also become very obvious. So I'm just here to talk about how to help your business, right? Or I don't want to be recruited. Well, I tell you, when I was recruiting is like selecting, right? So when I was in, elementary school and it was time to pick the teams for basketball, did you want to be the person chosen or the person not chosen? Well, I wanted to be the person chosen. Well, I'm choosing to talk to you today. How can I help you? Right? There's a lot of different ways that you can address that. People might say, well, I love my broker. Well, I assumed you loved your broker because you're still at your brokerage, right? But I didn't ask you about whether you liked your broker. I asked you whether you're on track to hit your goals. Well, I'm not on track. So how often are you currently meeting with your broker to get back on track? Well, my broker hasn't met with me in 12 months. So walk me through that exactly. You love your broker, but your broker is not helping you achieve your goals. Am I hearing that correctly? Well, I guess so. Okay, I'd like to meet with you to help you. When can we sit down for 20 to 30 minutes so I can learn more about you and your goals and your business? Does any of this sound like confrontational or arrogant or anything like that?
No.
Okay, just making sure. Because a lot of times logic, remember, logic makes them think and emotions make them act, right? So isn't it fairly logical that if the broker loves you, then the broker should care about your success and, if necessary, help you or guide you to other resources that can help you? Is that fair? Okay, so sometimes we need to let them know that, hey, you're not getting everything you could get and should get from your brokerage, right? Well, I've had COVID and I haven't been at the office lately or any of that kind of thing. Oh, I understand, but has your broker reached out to you to check on you? Well, no. Oh, well, I got to tell you, I think the brokerage business is actually quite simple. Okay, the broker's job is to find out what their agent wants, find out why that is important to that agent, show them the plan, and then hold them accountable. Right? Where is the weakness? Is it, do you think your broker knows what you want and why you want it? Or do you lack the plan? Or do you lack accountability? Well, I lack all that stuff. All right, when should we meet? Sounds like we should meet. By the way, that's probably my favorite script. Hey, sounds like we should meet. That's wonderful. Sounds like we should meet. That's terrible. Sounds like we should meet. Oh my gosh, sounds like we should meet.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? All right. Anything that that you've heard you don't quite understand?
No, I mean, I feel like I'm supposed to start making phone calls ASAP, and so I just need to get into a script and the dialing list to make sure I'm not crossing over everyone's toes that they just called them.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. If somebody were to say, hey, you're at the office with Bill, right? Say, oh yeah, has Bill been reaching out to you? Yeah, Bill and I have met a couple times. Oh, great. I love Bill. You'll be learning a lot from him. Sorry to interrupt your day. Have a great one. Right?
Yeah.
So anytime that you might run into something like that, compliment the other person. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, Justin is fantastic. He is such a smart guy.
Yep.
You know, you're so lucky to be in consultation with him.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt your day. Have a good one. Makes
Absolutely.
sense?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to put together, Justin, you gave me a bunch of scripts the other day. I think those would be great to start with. Let's start to think a little bit about what are the carrots that we can offer. Let's start to think about that for a second. What are the things that we can offer?
If we go to KW Connect, that's where the list of classes are.
Okay, is there what classes, like mastery with seller, win with sellers, win with buyers, that kind of stuff?
I'll look it up right now. I have to jump off at 10:45 for a one-on-one, but so here's training. Connect Live here's the Connect Live calendar. Okay, here we go. You want me to share my screen again?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's the luxury learning series, attract buyers. Some of these do cost.
Oh, that's like the live KW Connect stuff. So I'm not 100% sure if there's like a guest pass for that.
Okay. Here's instructor led business planning clinic, market center command course. Let's see, leveraging series.
So by the way, this is a great resource for each of you to download the curriculums and kind of scan through them and make sure that you have, some kind of resources behind you. So you kind of understand the economic model, you understand the lead gen model, you understand what a 66-day challenge is, you understand what mastery with buyers looks like. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So your job again is to get it's the same as we talk about in productivity coaching. It's your job today is to get smarter, right? To improve your skill set. And your job is to get more connected with your market, right? Or marketplace, or the agents within your market, right? So who have you reached out to today? Right. Again, anytime, like I just saw something from Gene Rivers 2 days ago, where he's offering like a quantum leap class for $60 or something like that. The market center would definitely pay for that. So that might be something that each week we huddle up and we say, hey, let's invite them to this class, or let's invite them to this mastermind. Maybe we can host like a top agent mastermind that we invite people to. Hey, every the third Wednesday of each month at 2:00, we host an agent mastermind. And what we do is we invite agents, some agents from Keller Williams and some agents from other brokerages. It's not Keller Williams specific, and just give them a forum and a platform to share ideas about what's working, right? And that way they don't feel weird about like showing up to a recruiting call and worried that somebody else is going to see them there, right? So we might have a top agent mastermind that we try to bring people to, right? And we might have a couple, KW plants or something like that, right? So it could be a monthly mastermind. It could be a business consultation where you work on your business plan. It could be career visioning if they are in a place where they might consider growing their team. It might be bold. It might be it could be any of these classes on the calendar, right? So,
And also the team meeting is a great place to invite people to.
yeah. So
Robin actually has time on her calendar before and after the team meeting for appointments, because so many people want to meet right after.
right. I mean, here, hey, we've got a lunch and learn do's and don'ts of social media with our mortgage partner, right? Hey, we've got a class, a book club for MREA. Would you like to join that? We are hosting a top producer mastermind. Here, this is a good one. Write this one down. 1:30 to 2:30 on Tuesday the 31st. A top producer mastermind with Aubrey. That's designed for people that are 8 transactions or more. Right? If they are below that, then there's a becoming a top producer mastermind with Robin for people that are less than 8 transactions. That's from 3 to 4:30 that day. Okay. Actually, I think that might be a good starting place. Maybe let's see how that is heard as a carrot, as an offering piece. Okay. So again, 1:30 to 2:30 for a top producer mastermind. This is on the 31st, or 3 to 4:30 on becoming a top producer, right? But we've got all kinds of stuff on this calendar that could be beneficial. A CMA and a listing agreement workshop, a golden letter workshop, right? A life by design workshop, any of that kind of thing. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, contracts workshop class. I mean, take a look at the calendar and we can identify some things that are might be helpful classes or whatnot, and be on the lookout for further opportunities as well. And team meeting, of course, would be another option. Okay. Try to think of what else I can go over with you guys. Any other thoughts or questions right now?
Not at the moment.
Are you guys excited?
Yeah, so I'm gonna get that broker metrics. I'm gonna start calling down that list. I'm gonna pick a script that kind of works.
So in the meantime, I can send you, do you have a brokerage or a volume that you'd like to start with? I can go ahead and send you a list so you can start calling if you'd like.
Well, I feel like we want the cappers, so I feel like until I've done a few of these, maybe I should do some half cappers.
Okay, so
I feel like feel like
Any
they're paying.
brokerage in particular?
No, I mean, I've been part of EXP. I've been part of HomeSmart. I've been a part of, I mean, any of those are,
Okay, why don't we do, why don't we start with, what about Berkshire Hathaway? I
Yeah.
haven't really called a ton of those offices.
okay.
Okay, one of the benefits, by the way, of COVID, if it's even appropriate to say that, is we have a lot of people at are at our office that are not really that close to Roswell, right? So you could call people in Sandy Springs or Dunwoody, in Midtown, in Marietta, I mean, anywhere. And because you can deposit earnest money checks, you know, electronically, and you can tune in with everything on Zoom, you know, they don't even necessarily have to come to the office. They can just take advantage of all the resources that we provide.
Yep.
Thank you, Bill. I've got to drop off. Bye, Justin.
All right,
Bye,
thank
Ken.
you. Okay,
It's
so
okay.
I'm looking at, I just picked Dunwoody, Canton, Atlanta, Roswell, Cumming, Roswell, Marietta, Woodstock, Alpharetta, Smyrna. Okay, so let's say we look for people that are a minimum of, let's say like 800 to 1.6. Actually, let's do 1.7. Okay, and let's just do a search and see how many there are. So there's 115 agents in all those Berkshire Hathaway offices that have volume between 1.7 and 800. Okay, so I can export this list for you.
Okay.
Contact information. Credit. Hang on one second. This is a new export option. Are you, and you're not at the office today, right?
No, on Thursday, somebody that I was in the vicinity of had COVID, so we're just trying to be precautious.
Thursday, what?
Last Thursday, somebody that we were in the same room with was tested positive for COVID, so we're just being a little.
Me and you?
No, somebody. My wife and I, we do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and somebody in that class, we weren't rolling with them, but somebody in that class had COVID and was tested positive. So we're just going to stay at the house for a few days.
All right. Thank you for being cautious. Hang on just a moment. I'm going to see if that grid just saved. One thing that I have in mind for this group, Justin, and you can give me your feedback on it, is while we all have a minimum of 10 appointments held, what I would prefer to do is to, however many people are in the group, let's say there's 3 people in the group, or 4 people in the group, our goal is to make sure the group hits 40.
Yeah.
Right. So even if somebody's, you know, having a tough week or taking a vacation or something, they only end up with 8. I want to make sure the group gets 40. So we're gonna create some synergy around the group sharing ideas and helping one another, and, you know, being a kind of having an abundant mindset around it, such that we make sure that no matter what, the group hits the number.
Yep.
Okay. So here is. Yeah, all right, I'm going to send you this list by email. Hang on. And you can invite, do you want to try the invitation to the mastermind this week?
Yeah.
You want
Yeah,
to try
so-
that?
yeah.
Okay, so let's do. One sec. All right, any other thoughts or questions or anything else I can help you with on the front end?
No, not at the moment. I'm sure.
I'd have your,
I'll-
your schedule up in front of you. If you get the feeling like, you could go straight to an appointment with Aubrey, then, I wouldn't, you don't necessarily have to hesitate with that. All right, I finally send this to you. All right, so I called this info grid, just because it was a new way of tracking it, but this is Berkshire Hathaway, you'll see from the list.
Okay.
And I'll also share this document with you, so you can be adding your people to the, what do you call it, to the adding the people to the pipeline report.
Okay.
Okay, Berkshire. All right. All right, let me know how let me know how everything's going. I know we're trying to do a lot right now, but I want to make sure that, especially at the beginning, as you're learning some of these approaches, I want to make sure that I'm available to help you. Okay.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
All right, my friend. I'll see you
All right.
soon.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, bye.